Oh. This is this one here. Hello. Hello, anything there? Is anything on? Off? Hello? Yeah! Is that working? Hello? Sorry? Yeah. Yep. Okay. Hello? No. Hello? Hi? No? Nothing? Hello? No? No! Microphone 1, microphone 2. Something's plugged in. Yo.
Happened. This doesn't work either.
Ah,
Getting somewhere.
I think it must be the. I think it's the Muslim terrorists. They're attacking China Grove. Maybe that's not a good thing to say. Anyone there? No one's there. All right. No one's there. Yes, in the room. Hello. This one isn't. Yo. It was. It was the ghost. Hello. Hello. Ah, something's working. Ah, must be the ghost. I'll try the other. That works. Okay. No. It's my fashion item. Wow.
Ooh.
Yeah, it must be something.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. That's all the fun and games finished for today.
Yeah, no game, but
Now, unfortunately, there's no more time for the talk, so we'll finish off now. Okay, welcome. And now you can see from this little escapade just the way that we do retreats in this place. Supposed to be on the other side. So meditation, sometimes people take it far too seriously. It's not like medication, to sort of dull you out. It's supposed to actually to uplift your mind, more energy, more happiness, a bit more joy, a bit more fun and games. And it also shows you can't control things in this life. Even with the best will in the world, trying to get the best possible PA system, still there's always something goes wrong. Does that remind you of your life? So a lot of times in meditation we just learn, again, how to flow with things. I told a story again in the last Thursday in the mental institution about one of the friends, a monk I knew. He was a Kiwi monk and he went over to visit his family and friends in New Zealand some years ago. And with one of his best friends, they just went walking through the forests, tramping they call it over there. And as he was happily tramping, it was a really warm summer's day, and they got to this beach, this isolated beach, pristine. It was so incredibly beautiful. And because they'd been walking all day, they sort of decided, to have a swim. Didn't need any bathers, there's no one around, for 20, 30 miles, the nearest civilization. So on this beautiful isolated beach somewhere in New Zealand, both of them sort of got into the water, and as soon as this monk got into the water, he realized he made a big mistake. That was actually a very dangerous beach. Many people had drowned there because they had these very strong currents. And he got caught in one of those currents, the riptides. And the one thing which saved his life, he told me, he realized that this was a really strong current and he wasn't a strong enough swimmer to swim against it. So he just relaxed and literally did go with the flow. Now that's what that really means. And he was very courageous because apparently he said it took him about a mile from the beach. That's a long way. And it's only when he got taken way out into the sea, into the ocean, only then did the strength of the current weaken, and he realized, now I can actually start swimming back. So he actually conserved all his energy by just relaxing and fighting his fear as he got further and further and further from safety. And only when he thought he could make a difference did he start swimming. And of course he survived because he could tell the tale, and he got back to the beach totally exhausted but alive. And he told me that story, and I thought, what a very smart, wise thing to do. There are some things in life which one cannot fight. The current is stronger than you are. And if you actually fight it, you end up losing all your energy to the point that, it kills you. So there's a time when we just let things go. We go with the flow, even though we're scared and it looks like it's dangerous. Until the time comes, we can feel the current isn't strong anymore. And that's when we put forth effort. Our problem in life is that we don't know how to let things go. We're always struggling and fighting, even though the odds are impossible. And it means that when we can do something, we've got no energy left. So the whole purpose of meditation is just learning how just to go with the flow, let things be, and stop fighting so much. And so that when you're actually sitting down here and you're meditating, the first thing, I was mentioning this yesterday, I'm going to reinforce it now. Your posture, the way you are sitting. You don't have to sit on the floor to get deep meditation. In fact, that sometimes some traditions say, look at the fat cushions which you've got to sit on. When I was a young monk, we didn't have cushions. We sat on the concrete. We were tough. And we were stupid. It's much better to have a nice cushion to sit on when you're nice and comfortable. And I've always said that there's many business opportunities for people making cushions. Some of these cushions are made by Bianca. She's very kind, but they're a bit old-fashioned. These days you can get modern, high-tech meditation cushions. Just like the remote control on TVs, you can press a button and the back inflates to lift up your backside. Or if this knee needs to be lifted, you can press another button, it lifts up the knee. And if you're a bit too hot, the cushion cools down. If you're cold, it has its own internal warmer. And if you have sloth and torpor, you press another button and you can make a cup of coffee. Right? Wouldn't that be a wonderful meditation cushion to have? But the point is that just try and make yourselves comfortable, because you don't get anywhere just by trying to force the body. If you do want to stretch the body, learn how to sit on the floor, do some yoga, do some stretching exercises. When you come to meditation, this is to relax the body, to be able to free the mind. That's one of the reasons why we have many chairs in the back. We encourage people, if you've got sore knees or a sore back, to use those chairs. I know that sometimes people say, oh, if I use a chair, I get sleepy. You soon overcome sleepiness. You get sleepy on the floor as well. It's just, wherever you want to sit, sometimes you get sleepy. Or you could do what a few people do, just get next to the wall so you can lean back a little bit. The whole point is that the posture is not that important, except its comfort. If it is too tense, too tight, you get into aches and pains. You won't enjoy the meditation. The meditation won't last long enough to bring you any peace. So get the body nice and comfortable. Old days, people would sit on the floor. I trained to sit on the floor for 9 years because we never had any chairs. So I'm more comfortable these days because this is how I grew up, sitting cross-legged. But many of you never sat on the floor once. You're always sitting on chairs. You grew up on chairs. So if that's the case, you can sit on a chair to meditate. Or, if you want to try the floor, but you're a bit sore, do sometimes on the chair, sometimes on the ground. So just change it so that your body can sort of learn how to relax. Because apparently prolonged physical stress positions are one of the methods of torture used by the CIA. And this is not the CIA. So we're not into prolonged stress positions. So if it's starting to hurt, do something about it. Sit on the floor, get some more cushions, a cushion under your knee, or whatever it is necessary, so that you can be comfortable. Now, I know that some people say that postures are really important. They are absolutely not important. Because I remember the key story I tell was when I was having a typhus fever in Thailand. Now, there's a very bad fever, very, very tired, aching all over, for about 4 weeks because they didn't know what it was. And getting so fed up one day in this hospital in the northeast of Thailand. It was a third world country hospital, and they didn't really know what was going on, and it was very painful. I like telling the story of the nurse. I had lots of loving kindness, but there's one person in this world I could never get loving kindness towards, and that's this nurse, because she would come in every morning and every afternoon to give me a cocktail of antibiotics to inject into my backside. And this was 1974 or something, and in those days was way before the one-use needles, these incredibly sharp hypodermic needles, which you hardly feel them when they go into the skin. These were the old days when they were thick and blunt because they would keep reusing them. And I was pretty sure that they would use them first in Bangkok. And after all the use in Bangkok, they'd send them out to the provinces where I was. And after using them in the provinces, this was a third world country, they didn't have much of a health budget. And so that after using them for the normal people in the hospital in Ubon, then they'd send them to the monks because we were supposed to be the tough guys. And it's no joke, no exaggeration. Because this nurse, she never injected you. She took the needle and stabbed you. That's the only way it could penetrate the skin because they were so blunt. And when you get that in the morning and afternoon, after 3 weeks, you've got one very sore backside. And every time I saw that nurse, and she wasn't like these petite Thai nurses, you may fantasize about, you guys in hospitals. This nurse was built like water buffalo. She was so strong. Probably she could plough the field herself without the water buffalo. That's how big she was. And she needed to be that strong to use those needles, bang, straight into you. Wow, that hurt. So I could not get any compassion for her. I'm sorry, but I tried. Not possible. But after about 2 or 3 weeks of a fever and you felt so terrible, I decided one day to meditate. I was a monk, meditate for goodness sake, instead of complaining. And that's when I got into really, really deep meditation. Body vanished and lots of bliss. And when you got sort of an aching body just with a fever, that's just such a relief to be able to leave it alone and escape from it. But what I noticed after I came out of my meditation, my posture, I have never ever seen in any meditation book of any tradition, past or present or future. Well, of course, I haven't seen the future, but that's just a nice thing to say. Never seen anything, a posture like that ever before. Legs were all over the place. Like when you just wake up in the morning, when you've had a deep sleep or you've been sick, the arms and legs are just every which way. And I just come out of the deepest of meditations, and I realized posture is not important. The body will look after your posture. So as long as you are comfortable, and that's good enough. Even if you are a bit sore or a bit stiff and you're not getting anywhere, you can lie down meditation. And don't do it in here because you'll start snoring. But you do it in your own room. If you snore there, it doesn't really matter. No one can hear you, I hope. But if you lay down, number one, if you want to lay down on your bed, take the pillow away. Because there's something about pillows which psychologically means it's sleep time. So take the pillow away, just lay on the bed. Or even better, lay on the ground, put a blanket down to make it nice and soft, and just do lying down meditation on the floor. Because then your body is really relaxed, and you find you don't have to worry about these aches and pains in the body, and then you can do your meditation. It gets very, very peaceful. So the posture is however you can make this body nice and comfortable. And what you do when you meditate, which is other people want to say, yeah, I've got myself into a comfortable position, don't just think that your body is comfortable straight away. It takes time to relax the body. And it's important to spend that time relaxing your body till you relax very, very deeply. So what I've encouraged other people to do, what I practice myself, when I first sit down, I close my eyes. The reason you close your eyes when you're meditating is because that takes away a lot of disturbance. Imagine your brain, it's only got so many gigabytes, and if most of those are taken up with sight data, you haven't got much left in your brain to actually feel the body. So if you close your eyes, you become much more sensitive to sounds and to physical feelings. So that's why that sometimes if you listen to music, you close your eyes because you can appreciate it much more. You've got more space in your brain. So it's the same when we start meditating. Close your eyes and you provide more space in your brain to understand the physical feelings, which means you do pick up more of the feelings in the body. So I just get myself into a reasonably good position, then I close my eyes, and then I make other adjustments, because then I become sensitive to my body. I can actually feel what's going on in the different parts and move them. Until I've moved my body enough, there's no other way of moving this body to get it more comfortable. I've reached the limit of comfort through moving. But there are still aches and pains somewhere in the body. You may have a bit of indigestion, you may have a headache, you may have a bowel ache or some sinus problems or an itch in your throat. Now all these other irritations in the body which you cannot get rid of by moving or scratching or coughing. What you now do is you put this thing called mindfulness on those physical feelings. You're aware of them. Without choosing, without trying to get rid of them, be aware of them as much as you can. What does that feeling feel like? I know that sometimes people say, well, it hurts, it's itchy. But no, stay much longer with it to get more information, to get to know it more. It's easy, you may sort of go and see someone, oh, I recognize you, but you don't really know them yet. You've got to hang out with them for a while until you really get to know them. You've got to hang out with your body for a long time to really get to know these feelings. Because once you really get to know them, that's called the mindfulness, the awareness of those bodily feelings. then you will start to notice that all feelings change, they get worse, they get better, aches get sort of less painful, and sometimes they get more painful. You start to notice them changing. This is what I call, it gives you feedback. It's just like the dial on your car which tells you whether you're running out of petrol or whether your car is overheating. It gives you feedback. And once you have that feedback, you start to notice what actually relaxes your body and what makes it more tense. Now, what makes the cough worse? What makes the cough better? And you find by trial and error, because you have this mindfulness of the body, that a simple thing called kindness, compassion, caring, that is what relaxes the body. It's the same way that a stray cat or a stray dog may come into the back of your house. And if you shout at it, you can see that animal getting really tense. If you give it some milk or something and just speak softly to it, if you're kind to it, it relaxes. It's one of the reasons why these kangaroos eat all the grass off our lawn. We're far too kind to them. But it's nice being kind to the animals. Because they don't feel afraid, they're relaxed. And sometimes if you go over the road to Bodhinyana Monastery, those kangaroos are so relaxed they won't get off the path. I have to walk around it because they refuse to move. That's what it's like over there. And all the other kangaroo stories over there are that, sometimes the monks take their bowl of food to eat back in their huts. I did this once myself, and you must always make sure your bowl of food is put inside the hut, not on the veranda. Because it doesn't take that long. The kangaroos are on the watch out for this. And so often, you just go into your room for 1 minute, and when you come outside, the kangaroo's got its nose in your bowl, and that's your lunch for the day. And they have first choice. That's really funny, but when you're hungry, it's not that funny. So, because you're very kind, they're not afraid of you, which is wonderful, but it has its downsides too. But anyway, when you're not afraid of your body, but when you're kind to it, the body relaxes. And you all know that relaxation is a beautiful way of healing. You all know if you're kind to parts of your body, for example, I've always got a bit of hay fever somehow or other, so if your nose is a bit stuffed, like mine is right now, I just be aware of it and kind to it, and the stuffiness in the sinuses will get less and less and less and less. You literally are, I'm doing it right now, I'm relaxing my sinuses. I can feel them getting more and more open, honestly, right now. Because this is what you do when you're aware of something, you give it kindness, you can feel that it changes, it relaxes. So this is actually how you deal with your body. I'm not saying you've got very great aches and pains in the body, but you can always relax all parts of the body. When it does get relaxed, it feels very open and free, and it actually feels delightful. The only way I can describe that feeling, very often I go to Indonesia to teach, but on the aircraft, you've always got lots of people going to Bali, not to teach, but to go to the beach. I teach, they beach. But anyway, so I thought, why do you go to the beach for? And they go to the beach because they can relax. And they pay a lot of money to relax. Because relaxing is a certain type of pleasure. To get away from it all and recline back and feel your whole body just loosen up. Now you don't need to go to Bali for that. All you need to do is to come to Jhana Grove. And you can relax deeper than at the beach in Nusa. And the reason you do this is because you can feel the different parts of the body. And you put your mindfulness there, a bit of kindness, and it all relaxes and opens up. And it feels good. Now, one thing when you're starting your meditation and you're learning how to relax your own body part by part, please see if you can be aware, pay attention and notice the feeling of delight when the body is relaxed. It feels really nice, really good, having a body which isn't tense. For some people, it's what they usually experience on a Sunday morning, when they can sleep in, when they don't have to get up and go to work. And your bed is nice and cozy and warm, and your body is nice and relaxed. This is only for those people who are young or middle-aged. At my age, you have to get up and go to the toilet. Oh dear, the problems of old age. You can't sleep in anymore. But this is what happens, that when you can get so relaxed and so cozy, it feels delightful. You know that feeling. You get the same sort of feeling when you meditate at the very beginning. The body is really relaxed, open, feels delightful. Now, I was playing around with that just even a couple of years ago, just really getting into the delight of a relaxed body. And I noticed something which I never expected, which was when I started to be aware of the delight of relaxation, the relaxation went deeper. I got more relaxed. I wasn't trying to relax more, but just perceiving the delight of a relaxed body, that pleasure takes you even deeper into relaxation. And my body got really, really relaxed. Never been so relaxed at all, just everything nice and loose. And no tightness, no pressure, no tension anywhere in the body at all. Now that's not only just a very pleasant feeling, it also prepares your body for meditation, and thirdly, it gives you the information on how you're supposed to meditate. The same way you relax the body, to be mindful of things and give it care, give it kindness, and everything relaxes and becomes easy, stress-free, no pressure, and you're at ease and happy just with your body. So many people who come to meditation with all sorts of sicknesses, and it's incredible. This is just my own experiences. There's whole books written about the therapeutical, physical benefits of meditation. But the two which I like talking about, one was in a retreat which I gave in Sydney years ago, and this guy came on the retreat and he told me what his problem was, but everyone else found out his problem the first day, because that first night I had all these questions in the question box. Ajahn Brahm, can you please tell people to breathe quietly? Because this guy was making this huge noise when he was breathing. And he was disturbing everybody. So I replied that there is a fellow here, the one who's breathing loudly, because he's dying of a big tumor in his nasal passages. It's blocked his nose. The doctors have given up hope for him. He's just come to this meditation retreat as a last hope. But basically there's no more treatment possible for him. And that is the only way he can breathe. And you know, once I said that, no one got upset at his loud breathing. It's only when we give noise and negativity, ill will, does it bother us. Now they were kind to that noise and kind to him. They realized he wasn't doing it on purpose. He had no choice. It was the only way he could breathe. And from that moment on, it never disturbed anyone on that retreat. It's incredible. This is what Ajahn Chah used to say. It's not the noise disturbs us, it's us who disturb the noise. By complaining, getting angry, getting upset at it. So don't disturb the noise. If someone makes a noise, you don't know why they're doing that. For this guy, he was dying. And anyway, he completed the 9-day retreat, noisy every morning, every afternoon, every evening. People didn't mind because they knew that he was giving his best. It's the last possible chance he has. And just before I left, all of the interviews, he was getting nowhere, nothing was really happening. But the last interview, actually it wasn't really an interview, just as I was leaving, he came up to me and said, something happened. And of course you always get excited when somebody says that. What happened? He said he was meditating, the last meditation, and he said he heard a pop. He heard like a pop in his mind. And he could breathe through his nose. Somehow or other the tumour had actually shrunk. But then it closed up again after 1 minute. It was only for 1 minute he could breathe. But he said, I hadn't breathed like that for months. And he was really excited. And I was off, to get the plane back to Perth, from the airport. I couldn't really hang around to talk to him, but I thought, you're like one of those kids who only sort of gets the books out to study the day before the exam. You should have done this a long time ago. It's a bit late now. So I thought, no chance. But of course, all these stories I say, all the ones which have unhappy stories, I don't tell you, unhappy results, I don't tell you. I need to do the good ones. Because about 2 or 3 years later, that's like, people in Thailand used to tell me, because we used to go in the jungles, and there were like tigers in the jungles. And all the villagers or the monks used to say, don't have to worry, we've never heard of a monk being eaten by a tiger. That's what they said to me. And I said, of course, you wouldn't hear it. They wouldn't be alive to tell you what had happened. So that still doesn't reassure me. So it's just like, I only tell the nice stories. But this guy, or rather another guy, I thought, he came up to me in Sydney. I was teaching somewhere or other. And I say this, please never say this to me, to a monk, because I see so many people, do you remember me? I hate it when people say that. Because as a monk, you're supposed to be honest. You're not supposed to tell lies. So I usually tell the truth. No, I don't know who the hell you are. And people get upset. What do you expect? Anyway, I was just honest. I said, no, I don't know. Who are you? And he said, I was that guy. So he was alive. Yeah, he said, I carried on meditating. Tumour went totally, shrunk totally away. And now I'm spending the rest of my life, however many more years I've got, teaching this meditation to people. Thank you so much. And it's really amazing to save someone's life. And the other time, I don't know, Bianca, you may remember that guy who came in the face mask to North Perth. He had the eczema. That was incredible, because this guy, he came, and we were having our retreats in North Perth, just about a mile from the red light district of Perth, Northbridge. So when he came in a face mask, a rubber face mask, I thought, he's one of those weirdos from down the road. But he said he came up there because he had this really terrible eczema all over his body, and he said that tried everything, and nothing had worked. The steroids, the psychology, everything. So he tried meditation, and he told me, he said, I don't know if I can last an hour or two, because the face mask would stop him scratching his skin off. And he showed me. He opened up his shirt and lifted up his trouser legs, and it was one of the most disgusting things I've ever seen, because you could see it all over his body. This rash, and it was so incredibly itchy. And I was sensitive enough to know that if you do go and get tortured, they leave you alone for a few hours a day. This guy was 24 hours having to endure this. And obviously driving him absolutely crazy. But I was really proud of him. He lasted the whole 9 days, and I can always remember him, visualize him now, coming out afterwards with this big smile on his face. And his face was clear. There was no spots on it. And he opened up his shirt. So proud. Lifted up his trousers, and there was a band around his ankles, still of the rash. He said about 2-inch band around each ankle. He said, most people will be really upset about this. For me, it's nothing. Absolutely nothing. Thank you so much for taking, and you can actually see it. Some people say they feel better, but you can't really see anything. But here you can see his skin was clear because of the meditation. So it's amazing, a little bit of kindness, a little bit of mindfulness. You can be aware of your body and be kind to it. Everything relaxes. And the health benefits are absolutely huge. And you can feel that, you can delight in it. So that's number one with this meditation. Just learn how to relax the body. Don't be so damn tense, walking around just like you're some sort of US Marine and boot camp. This is not a boot camp. This is Buddhism, kindness, compassion, looking after you. And so after a while, you can tell your body's relaxing because all the lines around your face. You don't need Botox, you need meditation to get rid of those lines. And all the worry lines disappear, and you start to smile naturally, and your whole face brightens up. You don't have to come and tell me how you're doing. It's written all over your face. So that's why after a while you tend to smile more, because you're more physically relaxed. And don't think you can bypass that stage. You can't. You have to relax your body first of all, before you can start to work on your emotional world. So once your body starts to relax and you feel very good, you're sitting here and the body actually vanishes. It's not a problem anymore. You haven't got aches and pains. So that's actually when you start to notice your emotional world, your mental world. And there's so much problems in that mental world. It's just like the aches and pains in the body. You've got so many aches and pains in your mind. And all that past stuff which you can't let go of, all the fears of the future, all that anger, all that guilt as well. And that is like the pain in the body. How do we let that go? Same way, mindfulness and kindness. It's such a most powerful combination that's where I invented another new word, kindfulness. That's mindfulness beginning with a K rather than M. The combination of mindfulness together with kindness, because that is really powerful. So that's also what you do with your emotional blockages. The pain, the aches, the sicknesses inside your head. Don't try to get rid of it. It's just like, I've got an ache and a pain. Get out of here. I'm not going to watch you knee. You can bust up. I'm just going to fight you. And you're not going to enjoy. You're not going to disturb me. I'm going to sit here even if my knee explodes with pain. Some people are like that, It usually lasts about 2 minutes, and then you get up because you can't stand it. The pain will be much greater than you. You can't relax with such pain. You're just fighting. So instead, we have these blockages in our mind. Trying to get rid of them makes them worse. There is, I say this every retreat, but this is one of the Buddha's best similes, the anger-eating monster simile. For those of you who haven't heard this before, because many of you are coming for your first retreat, there was a story told by the Buddha of a monster who came into the emperor's palace while the emperor was away on some business. And the monster was so ugly, so frightening, that all of the guards, the soldiers, the security personnel who were supposed to be looking after the palace, they just hid, went under the tables, behind the chairs, through the doors, because they were terrified of this monster. And this monster, not being stopped, walked right into the palace, into the main room, and onto the empress's throne. Call it empress, because most of you are girls, so I'm just sucking up to the females in the audience today. So, sat on the empress's throne. And as soon as it sat on the empress's throne, many of the security guards, they came out of hiding, and they said, "Get out of here, who do you think you are? You're not allowed in here, get out." And at those words, that monster grew an inch bigger, more ugly, more smelly, more offensive. And that just made them even more angry. And they took out their swords, they clenched their fists, they shouted and threatened. But every unkind word, unkind deed, or unkind thought even, the monster just grew another inch bigger, more ugly, more smelly, more offensive. And this had been going on for a while. When the empress came back, as soon as she came into the room, she saw this incredibly ugly, frightening monster sitting in her throne. And what did she do? She said, "Welcome." That's why she was the empress, because she was smarter than anybody else. "Welcome, monster. Thank you so much for coming to visit me. Why have you waited so long? Has anyone got you a cup of tea yet?" We have green tea. That's called Mahayana tea because it comes from Japan. We have Theravada tea from Sri Lanka. Would you like some juice instead of some tea? Would you like some biscuits to go with your tea? And she was sincerely kind. And at those few kind words, that monster shrunk another inch and was less smelly, less offensive. And that was everybody figured out their mistake. Instead of saying to this monster, get out, you don't belong, they started looking after this monster and caring for the monster. About 10 of them got around the feet and gave the monster a foot massage. Had such huge feet. Someone else said, do you like something to eat? We can call out for a pizza, because these days you can get monster-sized pizzas from some outlets. And every kind word, kind deed or whatever, the monster just kept on shrinking. And in no time at all, it was back to the original size when it came in, but they didn't stop there. They just kept on with the kindness until the monster was so tiny that one more act of kindness and the monster vanished completely away. And the Buddha told that story, but not the pizza, not the foot massage. There are some things I do add. I do admit it. And the Buddha told the story, and he said, we call that an anger-eating monster. They feed on anger. Get out of here, you don't belong. And it gets worse, it gets bigger, more of a problem. And of course, I think you can recognize that now. You know, I tell that to so many organizations of psychologists. You know, even I was mentioning at the Mental Health Institute to the Association of Survivors of Torture and Trauma. You know, people have really gone through hell. And in these dungeons of the world, and refugees, they come to Australia, and just the body is free, but the mind isn't free yet. They've got to deal with the scars, you know, the emotional scars. Some of the physical scars are still there too, but the emotional ones are the tough ones. How do they do that? And that story is one of the key stories. You don't say, get out of here, you don't belong. You welcome the trauma. Thank you for coming to visit me. And then the emotional pain gets a little bit less, until you welcome it so much, it vanishes. Fantastic psychology. And it works. So you haven't been through such trauma, I hope. You've all had lots of painful experiences in your life. Sometimes you were responsible for those, it was your fault. How do you get rid of those? Throw it away, let it go, get out of here. Past. Does it get away? Does it sort of vanish? Of course it doesn't. That's why you have to keep coming back again and again and again and again. Instead, you're kind to it. Thank you, past, for coming to visit me. And when you care for it, it gets less and less and less intense. That is how you let it go. That is how it vanishes. Mindfulness together with kindness. Exactly the same way you relax an ache, you know, in your sinuses or in your knees. Aware and kind, you can feel it get less intense. You can feel that memory from the past get less of a problem until it gets so soft, it either vanishes or it's so small you can ignore it very easily. And the same with all your anxieties and fears for the future. Please be kind to them. Don't sort of get angry and upset, otherwise they get more solid and harder to let go of. So when you have this awareness and kindness to the problems of the past and the future, all your worries and concerns, I don't know, for some reason you may have, if this is your first retreat, worries and concerns about this retreat. What am I going to do? I can't stand this 9 more days without dinner. I can't handle this. Be kind to the future. You'll be able to be okay. And when you have that kindness, all that fear of the future gets less intense, which means it just vanishes. It softens and vanishes and disappears. And of course, what we're left with then, we're left with the present moment, just being here. And this is a place of freedom. This is where meditation happens right now. Now is the time that your future is being made. Now is the only time you can do anything for your future right now. So after a while in this meditation retreat, you just get closer and closer and closer to the present moment. Oh, and by the end of this retreat, you're just here. Oh, tomorrow, who cares? Yesterday, where was that? It's gone out of my head. And all you hear is just right now, peaceful. When they say, go away on a holiday to get away from it all, you take all your worries and all of your concerns with you. But here, you really can get away from it all, get away from all the past, all the future. Just allow it just to vanish. So you can be totally free. Free to be peaceful and to enjoy just being here. This is a very beautiful place. There's a quiet piece of forest. There's hardly any noise. Beautiful views, nice trees. You know, a lot of times people can come here and they never see it because they're too busy worrying, or sometimes, you know, they're too busy meditating, whatever they think that is. And they can't enjoy the sunset. Crazy. So this really is meditating, just being here. And little by little, the meditation gets very deep. And I'll explain about that later on. But first of all, just be in the present moment. Now, of course, many of you never meditated before. You see all these 3 rooms on either side here. Those are the walking meditation rooms. And if you go and look in there, you see all these red carpets. Okay, one place is an orange carpet because they ran out of red carpets. But when we designed this place, we wanted to give you the very best. So we got red carpets for your walking meditation. So if you want to feel what it's like to be at the Oscars, because apparently I read in the newspapers Oscars are coming up, just walk along the red carpets with your meditation. Every now and again, turn around to smile. Strut as you walk to your walking meditation. Now the reason we put those carpets in there is because, and the other part of the hall is concrete, because you want to make sure that people actually walk on those carpets. So don't walk across. Because that happened before. You had an empty room here. You know, for many people do their walking. Of course, there's always one person who decides to walk right across diagonally, so no one else can use it. So anyway, what we've done is actually hard concrete, and it's worked okay. And the carpets, psychologically, people walk on the carpet. And my second plan, if that didn't work, was to put sort of broken glass between the carpets or something, or poo or something. But anyway, so please walk on the carpet. Now, what you actually do is basically as little as possible. Sometimes people ask me, said, well, how do you do walking meditation? I ask, how do you do walking? I said, well, we just do it. So that's what you do with walking meditation, just do it. So you start at one end, you walk to the other end, you turn around and walk back again. And people ask, well, what's the point? Exactly. Because doesn't that remind you about life? You start off life with no teeth, no hair, and nappies, and you end up with no teeth, no hair, wearing nappies. You start off life not knowing what your name is. You end up, if you live long enough, who am I? Who are you? Have you ever noticed that life is that's what happens? Well, we start off and we go around, we come back again. So this is a wonderful practice of not getting anywhere. Now this is a beautiful teaching. Why is it everything you do in life, you have to get something out of it? To improve yourself, to get somewhere, to make something happen. This is learning how to do something where you end up where you started, for no particular purpose. To see if you can just walk instead of going somewhere. So this is teaching you. You're doing walking meditation not to get somewhere, because you end up where you started from. You do walking meditation to learn how to be instead of learning how to get somewhere. It's a totally different thing you do in your life. You go to work to get your money. You go to school to advance yourself. Some people go to see psychologists to improve yourself. Listen, you tell those psychologists you're good enough as you are. So you don't need to improve. Now, who are you to tell me I'm not good enough? You don't need to improve yourself. You're good enough. So you haven't come here to improve yourself, okay? You haven't come here to get enlightened. You haven't come here to get joy. If you come here to get something, you're going to get so frustrated. And don't ask for your money back, because that's not in the contract. You know, that you can, if you don't get anything, you ask for your money back. You're not supposed to get anything. You're supposed to learn how to be here. Instead of always going places, improving yourself, getting somewhere else. What's wrong with right now? In fact, this place is as good as it gets. You know, beautiful scenery, nothing asked of you. There's no bosses, you know, telling you to get this work done by yesterday. There's no husbands always meh, 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 meh. No wife, meh, 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 meh. No kids to disturb you. You're in your own room. You're totally free of bosses, free of partners, free of kids, free of parents, free of mobile phones. Wow, this really is getting away from it all. Beautiful food from Bianca, silly stories and entertainment from me. So you've got lots and lots of stuff, you know, it's really good value for money. So, walking meditation, you're not trying to get anywhere. Being here. That's the point of meditation, especially the walking meditation. So you start and you walk from one end to the other. And see if you can put your gaze 2 meters in front of you. So you're not looking around, disturbing yourself, see what other people are doing. Just 2 meters in front of you. And that means that, you know, you feel safe. So you're not going to tread on anything. You're not going to hit the wall, because you can see it coming. So just gazing 2 meters in front of you, and you walk naturally. And number one, be in the present moment. Don't look at the clock. I've got another half an hour to go. You know, it doesn't matter about what time it is. Just be here and forget about the time. You'll know when it's lunchtime. The tummy will tell you. And this is very accurate. This is like a Swiss chronometer. You will know exactly. Many of you, if you go over to Bodhinyana Monastery, you see around, not yet, another half an hour, there'll be lots of birds come along, because they know it's lunchtime. And the rest of the day, they're gone. They disappear. They just only come, you know, around for lunch. Because they know there's lots of people there, there's lots of food, and there's lots of stuff. People are always dropping things, and sometimes they just drop things anyway. Especially the kookaburras, they were the most fun. We used to have these two really, really kleptomaniac kookaburras. Because they were really good fun at the time. They would sit up on the railings. They weren't scared of anybody. The monks would try and catch them. They'd just move up a couple of inches away. They would stand up there, and when people would take out their food on their plates, the kookaburras would be looking down. And if they liked something, they would swoop down and they'd take it straight off your plate. And you know, the monks up there would hear it. Someone goes, ah! And the plate falling on the ground. We knew it was those kookaburras. And what they'd go for, they weren't vegetarians. They would go for either sausages was their favourite, because that was like a worm. But the thing was that it was part of their, you know, DNA. They had to kill it before they would eat it. So they have the sausage in their mouth and they bang it against a tree and bang it to kill the sausage. Really funny to see. Just like your conditioning, you have to go and do something. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to kill the sausage. It's dead already, so just eat it, stupid kookaburra. But they'd always come at that particular time. They knew what time it was. They never had any watches. You know, they knew. And it's the same, you know when it's time for lunch. So just go walking there. Natural pace. Some people do walking meditation. Those of you who've been in other retreats do what's called slow walking meditation. You try and walk as slow as you can, thinking the slower you walk, the faster you get enlightened. Something weird there, isn't it? The slower you walk, the faster your enlightenment. Weird. But anyway, just walk naturally, because now we have a new name for the slow walking meditation. And it came about a year ago when it was somebody else's retreat on here, and somebody was bringing food to the monks over in the monastery over the way, and they visited here first of all with a little kid, maybe 7 years of age. And the 7-year-old kid came up and said, Ajahn Brahm, I've just been over to a retreat centre. You've got zombies in your retreat centre. Because apparently zombies move very slowly. And that's what he thought your walking meditation was. So nowadays we call that zombie walking meditation. Lifting, putting down. So if you want to do zombie meditation, you can, but be careful of the kids. Because apparently zombies were very famous, or they were in all the movies. Zombie this and zombie that. So they're very cool for a while. But anyway, just walk at a natural pace. Sometimes you can walk fast, sometimes slow. Whatever's natural, whatever works for you, but don't try and affect it and try and walk slowly. And other times you see, especially when they do slow walking meditation and they're walking next to each other, it's like a competition. Who can walk slowest? Olympic slowest, yeah. You say, that damn lady, she's going too slow. I'll have to go slower than her. That's nothing to do with meditation. So just 2 meters in front of yourself. And again, that in order to be in the present moment, that's really what you're trying to do, just to be here. It sometimes helps just to be aware of the feet moving, because there's nothing else going on. 2 meters in front of you, and just feel the feet as they're moving. Just imagine you're like a dancer. You have to know all the muscles of dancing. So be aware just of all the different muscles with just one step. And somebody, I think it was in the newspaper a couple of days ago, they said an amazing thing walking is. You know, that's one of the hardest things to get robots to do, to walk, and to figure out how it's actually done. You know, you've just taken that for granted, but you actually just watch it. It's almost like you're sort of being an observer of the process of walking. You see all the muscles as just one foot moves and one step. After a while it gets really fascinating, so that becomes your focus of attention. You know, just watching the feet moving. And because again it's physical movement, physical feelings, after a while it stops you getting into all this emotional thinking stuff in your head, which is one of the biggest problems of meditation. Think, 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 think. Fantasize, 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 plan, 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 remember, remember, remember. And I just, our poor old brain is just totally overworked. I did say, and I wish I could do this, to get some sponsors to start a new society, the Royal Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Brains. Because your brain, you're so abused at all, worrying and thinking, and at night time you're thinking, and daytime you're worrying. Your poor brain, I feel so sorry for it. So give your brain a break. Just be, and relax your brain, and get a bit of energy coming back again. So you're just sitting there, not doing very much, just watching the beautiful feelings of the feet as they come and go. So it takes away all of the thoughts away from the head, and you're just feeling. And that becomes a walking meditation. And when you get to the end, what's it like to feel, to move around? How does the body move when it sort of you turn around? You get to notice all those movements until you can notice so many different muscles you've probably never been aware of before. So you can walk really interestingly. And you do find that there's no two steps have ever been the same. When you really get into this present moment, it actually gets very interesting. So you're in this moment, you're silent, you're not thinking, you're feeling, walking backwards and forwards, and you can get really high doing that. Remember just going off to this Catholic little retreat in Chittering. They wanted me to go and teach for a day, and this poor woman, I still remember her name, Wendy, I'm not sure if she's still running this retreat up in Chittering Valley. And she was just such a busy lady. She was always thinking. She couldn't sit down to meditate. When I taught her walking meditation, she came up afterwards and said, "It worked. I felt so peaceful. This is brilliant." And every now and again, I saw her again for 2 years. "I'm still doing my walking meditation, Ajahn Brahm. Thank you, thank you, thank you." She really got into it, but she couldn't do the sitting meditation. That's what it's like for some people. So you're walking there and you get so peaceful, you get high and happy, and it's very beautiful for you. So try that too. Usually what happens, we alternate sitting meditation, walking meditation, sitting, walking meditation. And that's, the day, the afternoon goes so quickly when you're doing that. If you need to do what I call flat out meditation, having a nap, you're most welcome to do that in the first few days. Because sometimes you're a bit tense, you need to catch up on some sleep. That's fine too. But that's how we do the walking meditation. And so little by little, we learn meditation. There's much more to learn about meditation. So every morning I'm going to give some more talks on the meditation to take it deeper, to give it more of an overview of how the mind works and how it becomes really still and blissed out and insightful. But in the meantime, that's enough for this morning. And again, there is going to be the basket outside. That's just in the entryway over there, where you can put any questions you have to ask about the meditation. And also, starting tomorrow, we have interviews. I never give interviews the first day, give people a chance to settle in. But the interviews